University TV. I want to talk to you today about the jig. The jig is probably the most versatile bait we have in our arsenal, and if I was going to put one bait in my boat, only one, it would be a jig. Why? Because you can work it from top to bottom of the water column. It's really that versatile. A lot of things you have to remember about a jig is it catches big fish. You know, there's probably been more money won on a jig than any other bait that we use. But there's so many different applications and styles that, you know, to some people it can be confusing. Many of you may know that I won a Bassmaster Open on the Upper Chesapeake, and I did it with a jig. You know, the elites are coming to the Upper Chesapeake this year. Although it's a different time of year, I still believe that the jig is going to be a big player up there, and I think the guys that apply that to their approach on the Upper Chesapeake with the grass and the wood and the rocks, it's really going to help them catch a lot of fish that important no matter what cover you use. If you're throwing into lay down logs or stumps, you know, you don't want that thing plopping in so hard that it digs down into the roots and it gets hung up. If you're fishing grass, you know, the fish are either on top of the grass or under the grass. So do I use a weight that lays on top, a weighted jig that lays on top of the grass and I can ease it over it, or do I want a jig that goes down through it? Many times what we find is when they're on top of the grass, we want a much lighter jig, something that I can get through the top of the grass without it getting hung up. I want to ease it over those little tufts of grass, around the points in the grass, and allow the fish to see the bait. In the summertime, when the fish actually get underneath the grass and you maybe get down deeper in it, I'm going to use a much heavier jig, all right? This happens to be a 1-ounce jig. It's got a big trailer on it. I want a big bait to mimic the bait that they're feeding on then, which is typically brim or sunfish. And this bait will do that for me. It's heavy enough that it will go down through the grass and go to the bottom and allow the fish to see it. It also, one of the most important factors in any jig is to have a hook that's big enough to pull a fish out of cover. I like a jig with a heavy wire hook, all right? Very strong hook and a very sharp hook, because I want to be able to get that bait into the fish and I want to be able to pull them out. I don't want the hook flexing. I don't want the hook opening up where the fish now has a better opportunity to get off of it. Something else that you might want to apply to your arsenal, especially this time of year, is a swim jig. This particular jig is made to come through the cover. It's got a very pointed head. It's got a very light weed guard, but it catches really big fish quite often in this time of year. And you want something that has that big heavy hook in it, and it will allow you to pull the fish out. I like to pair this particular bait with a swim jig as opposed to some of the other trailers that I'll go over, because it looks more like a bait fish coming through the water. Something else I like to do with this jig and all my jigs when I'm getting ready to prepare it is I like to trim trailers. Let's talk about trailers. There's a multitude of trailers that we can use. As seen on this one, I use a swim jig or a swim bait on it, all right? Depending on how I'm fishing, do I want a big flappy style, or do I want something that's going to go through cover? A lot of times in the winter, fish, you know, don't really like a lot of action on a bait. They want something that's a little bit more subtle. You know, if you were using a worm as opposed to a ribbon tail, you would use a straight tail in the wintertime in the cold water. Well, it's the same application for a jig. In the wintertime, I like to use something that doesn't have a lot of appendages and doesn't have big flappers on it, so that it just has a subtle approach.
I hope you enjoyed the preview clip, and for more like that and the entire collection, subscribe to the Bass University TV. And if you want the tackle that you see on there, I want you to go to the Bass University Tackle Shop, powered by Tackle Warehouse, and click right here, and it's all at your fingertips.
You want to become a better angler?
You want to catch more and bigger bass at your local pond?
Then check out Bass University TV for hardcore bass fishing information.
Hey, I'm Pete Gluzek.
And I'm Mike Iaconelli.
And this is Bass University TV.
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Gluzek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests.
Everywhere I go in the country, I'm trying to use these techniques because I catch big fish that way.
From on the water to in the classroom,
We want to use that bait to help make that area even smaller and really find that sweet spot.
you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills.
You want something that's got a nice limber action, that's going to allow you to build pressure and keep those hooks pinned against that fish's mouth.
Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time.
Hold on, because you're going to catch some big fish.
Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best.
That's a key theory in all of fishing.
Subscribe to Bass University TV today.
Man, does it trigger a lot of strikes.
Here's the part that you're not going to hear anywhere else. This is the Bass University TV exclusive.